Hi friends, Tracy here from the Sewing Channel. Welcome back, and if you're new here, welcome. I've had such a huge response for the magic two-seam tote bag and how to box out the corners. I decided to make a video for you on how I use two fat quarters to make two separate bags that look different. Two different methods on how to box out the corners of your magic two-seam tote bag. One, we're going to totally chop off the ends. With the other method, we're not chopping off anything, but we are going to use a button. Enough talking already. Let the magic begin. Now, we can't have a two-seam magic fat quarter tote bag without having a couple of fat quarters. You will need two fat quarters that coordinate with each other. Now, typically a fat quarter is 18 inches by 21 inches or 22 inches. Mine happen to be 18 by 21. We're going to make two-seam magic tote bags today, so you'll need 4 nylon straps. My straps measure at 22 inches in length. They're about an inch wide. A tip for you here is to take a fire starter lighter or a lighter of any kind that has a flame, and you're going to just lightly go over the edges. And what that does is, since this is a plastic, it just seals it so that it doesn't fray. So for right now, you'll just want to set these aside. The first thing you want to figure out with your fat quarters is which side has the salvage edge. The salvage edge is the edge that typically has the writing on it. It's where the machine connects onto the fabric in order to weave the fabric. So you'll want your fat quarters with the salvages off to the sides here on both pieces. I'll show you on this piece right here a trick on how to find out where your salvages are. If you pick up the sides, you're going to give it a little tug. If I get closer there, you can see. There's a little bit of give there, even though it's woven fabric. But if I go this way with the fabric, it's pretty tough. I don't feel much give, if any, at all. So the stretchy side right here, your salvages are off to the sides. And this end right here, when you do this and there's no give, that is the grain of your fabric, because the grain of your fabric always runs parallel to the salvage edge of your fabric. So that's how we can tell that this is the salvage edge. We need to cut our pieces first. So how I'm going to do that is line these up best I can, because a lot of times they're going to be different. It's just the way they cut them in the factory or however they do it. You can see here that pretty coral batik-y looking fabric is a little bit bigger. The first thing you're going to do is square up these two pieces, because we do need them to be the same identical piece. So remember, if you get mixed up, go ahead and just give it a tug and you'll be able to tell that this is the salvage edge. And we want the grain and the salvage edge. This is going to be the up and down of our bag. I'm going to pin the salvage edges to help us remember. So since these are our salvage edges and our bag is going to go up and down this way, the top part of our tote bag, we need to cut it off of both of these in order to have the contrasting fabric in the magic two-seam tote bag. We are going to cut off 6 inches of our fat quarters, both of them lined up together. We're measuring 6 inches across. That's 6 inches, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm gonna put my long ruler here, make sure everything is straight, pull that one off. And this is going to be the top of each of our tote bags. The next thing we're going to do is take these 6-inch pieces. We're going to fold them with wrong sides together, get them nice and even, and we're going to put a crease right here in the fabric. Take your other top portion of your bag, fold it in half, and give it a crease. Now I couldn't get real even with these squares on here in the checkered fabric because it just wasn't even. And you kind of get what you get in the fat corners, so I'm working with it. Some of you might remember this fat quarter fabric that I did in my Joann's and Hobby Lobby haul. If you haven't seen that video, check it out, top right hand corner. So what you should have is 2 6-inch in width pieces that are folded and creased with the iron right down the center. So we can kind of see where our salvage edge is now because it's visibly longer this way. So I'm going to go ahead and take these pins out. I'm going to show you one bag at a time. I'm going to work with the checkered piece as the main portion of our bag, and this is going to be the top of our bag. Hopefully you can see there is a right side and a wrong side to this fabric. And with this one, we can see that there is a right side and wrong side too, and we really can tell the right side because we've creased it already. First, we need to figure out where our straps go. We want them center on both sides of our bag. This is how we're going to do it. I'm going to share this with you while it's facing you. It'll be upside down to me, but hopefully you'll be able to see it better this way. So wrong side facing up. Fold your fabric in half. And you're looking at it as if this is the top and this is the bottom, if that matters. I'm looking at it upside down. So you're going to fold that right in half, edge to edge. And then you're going to take this edge right here, the folded side, you're going to meet this up to just shy of a 1/2 inch right here. So you can see here, there's a 1/2 inch space right there. So my folded side is stopping right here. You can see here. See, this was where I had folded it, and those are the 2 raw edges. And then when I fold this like this, I'm going to stop just shy of a 1/2 inch. Stopping shy of just a 1/2 inch right here will help us with our strap placement so that we have them just perfectly center. Go ahead and lift that up best you can onto your ironing station, making sure that everything is a 1/2 inch right there. And you're going to put a crease right here in the top portion of your bag. Make sure it's a good crease because you don't want to forget where that's at. And then let's take a look here. So when we open this back up, we can see that there's the crease right there. Hopefully you can see it. And if I open up even yet further, you have a crease here and you have a crease here. Now this was that middle area that we first had creased, so I don't want you to pay attention to that. I want you to pay attention to these 2 nice creases at the top of your fabric. So this crease right here, I want you to measure from this crease 2.5 inches. So if I was to find that crease, there's the 1/2, and then there's 1 and 2. And wherever that is, I'm going to make sure that I pop a pin right there. Go back to that crease, and then you want to measure this way 2.5 inches. So there's 1 and 2, and there's the 1/2. And you'll want to pop your pin right there. Find the crease over here on this side. Measure over 2.5 inches, 1, 2, and there's the 1/2 right there. Pop the pin in, And then you're going to go from the crease on this side right here. 1, 2, and there's the half. So you should have 4 pins in there. These are going to tell us where the middle of our strap is going to go. Just that tiny spot where that pin is. This is still the top of the 2-seam magic tote bag. The next step, take your 6-inch wide piece from the opposite fabric that was cut, open it up so that the crease is facing up. So both of these pieces are facing up right now. You're going to take this piece that has the pins in it, lift it up, lay it on top of that creased fabric, center it best you can, one on top of another in the width area. We are going to be trimming this up flush later, so just try to get it the best you can. If we weren't using the fat quarter method, I would tell you typically to make the 6-inch wide piece a bit longer, just so that we have some wiggle room when we go to make it flush in the end. But since we're using both the same size fat quarters, we're just gonna go with it. So again, you're looking at it from the top of the bag down, and I'm looking at it upside down. Next thing you're going to do is get your strap, lay it like this. I'm going to guesstimate where the center of this strap is here on the edge. Do your best just to find the center. It's only 1 inch, so you're going to figure in 1/2 inch in, and if you need to measure that, you go right ahead and do it. So I'm going to lay this strap down. Where my pin is, hopefully you can see, is the center of this strap. So I'm going to lift this up, and then I'm going to pop the pin in the strap and the other 2 layers of fabric, just like that. You're going to come over here and do the same. You're going to put the edge of your strap right up to the raw edges of your fabric, centering it right on that pin. Take the pin out, put it back in, going through all 3 layers. Do the same here, finding the middle of the strap, take the pin out, center up your strap, take the pin out, and put it all through the 3 layers. In this next step, we're going to utilize the same method that I used in the original magic tote bag tutorial. You're going to see that right there, lift up that larger piece of fat quarter. And we're going to roll that on top of the straps while holding it best you can. This is probably the hardest part. You're going to try to keep your straps straight as well. And you can use something to kind of help you, put your pin cushion there, whatever. But I'm the only one in my sewing room, so it's just me, myself, and I. But when you get to this point, you're going to leave that right there. Do not grab that 6-inch wide piece with it. You're going to roll it up just about to there. The first part that we are going to secure down, you're going to roughly find the middle section right here. Lift that up and come toward the middle section right here. So you are meeting this piece up with those other 3 pieces. Well, actually, other 2 pieces, because our strap is not in this initial first pin down. So you're going to put it just like that, and I'm going to put a sideways pin in, because when I get to the sewing machine, I don't like to take my pins out, so I leave enough room that my presser foot can clear that. So that middle section is pinned. Now all the while, you still have all this. This stuff is all still pinned right there, but we have to anchor that middle down so that we know roughly where the center of everything is so the fabric doesn't get all crazy. Now our next spot that we're going to pin is like this section right here, the section that's not pinned to the strap. The bulk of our bag is right in here, and you're going to lift. Now you can push with these fingers right here, push this part in and lift this up so that you don't grab that bulky part of the bag, because we're not going to be sewing that part. We're going to be sewing all these edges together. So once you get those to meet up, just like you did in the center, hold that with your fingers, put a pin in it, come over here to this side, push that in with your thumbs if need be. So you're going to push that bulk right there, back there, into that tube almost. Secure that with your fingers and then pop a pin. So this is what you should have so far. Looking good. I guarantee you, if you follow all these steps, you are going to have a couple of perfect 2-seam magic tote bags made with fat quarters. Now we're going to go to, say, this one or this one. It's one of these two that's in the middle that's connected to the strap. We're going to hold where we initially pinned right here. I'm going to hold that with this finger. And then I'm going to pull that pin out. Now all the while I'm keeping this strap straight, because nobody wants a crooked strap. And then I'm going to push this fabric to here. Now this one I am going to pop the pin in straight because it's too hard to do it the other way. Now let's go over to this one. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to hold our finger down right here, holding these two fabrics and that strap together securely with our fingers. Take the pin out, add this other piece in the top portion of our bag, and then take that same pin. It's hard when you're doing it upside down. And now you're going to go to the ends. Flatten that down like that. Pinch those layers together, pull the pin out, and pop the pin back in. Pinch, pull. If you need to, push that back in there. It's perfectly okay. It's not going to hurt anything to push it back in. So this is what you should have so far. You know, it looks kind of funny, right? And you're probably thinking, what in the world? But trust me, it's going to be magical and beautiful, and you'll love it. Now let's head over to the sewing machine, where we are going to sew about a 1/4 inch seam right along here, right along all these edges that we just pinned up where the straps are. I am going to reinforce over these straps maybe a couple of times, and you should too. Just, it helps me to make sure that everything is nice and secure on my little tote bag. This is what you should have so far. It's a tube. This is why they call it the burrito roll-up method. This tube right here contains all the magic. This right here is the whole reason why you clicked on my video today. So let's see if it was worth it. You're going to go on whichever side you want, and you're going to start pulling, tugging ever so gently. And you can even fold down that initial area right there and just gently pull the base of the bag. You try not to pull on your strap because you don't want to loosen anything that you just sewed. And there's the magic. So the first thing you're going to do, once you get it out of that tube, you're going to try to lay everything down nice and flat. And you're going to give it a good press. Make sure you get this area here. You just want to push that fabric right up there nice. Now remember, there was that initial memory crease that we had in the beginning that we made in there, and that helps it go the way that it's supposed to. I love this color. Turn it over and give everything a nice press. Be sure not to grab your nylon straps though. The next thing I'm going to do is lift this strap right here up over like this. And everything is nice and flat. You're going to hold that down and you're going to pop a pin right here. You're going to come over here and do the same thing to this strap. We want it nice and straight. Fold that up, pop a pin in this one. Fold this one over and pop a pin right there. Now this step is optional, but definitely recommended, but this is not counted in our 2 seams of our tote bag, just so you know. This is how I'm going to sew this recommended step, but not necessary, on the sewing machine. You're going to start with a top stitch at the end, here, at one of your ends, it doesn't matter. You go down, sew right across here, go straight, then you're going to sew up, and then you're going to go over, making a rectangle. Once you get here, you're going to keep going, go, 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 and then you're going to sew across that black portion of the strip, and then you're going to come up, square it off with your stitching, go down, and then you're going to go over that same spot again, and you're going to keep going to the sewing machine, and I'll show you what that looks like. You may need to readjust this as you're looking at it straight on your strap so that you get everything nice and straight. Pivot again. Go ahead into the rest of your top stitching right here. Over the black portion of the nylon strap. Pivot. Pivot again, and you're going to go over that same stitching that you initially made when you first went over that nylon strap. So this is what we should have so far, a nice top stitch, and we've boxed out those, and if you want to put the crisscross in there, go right ahead. Now we're going to trim our sides. We are going to put right sides together because That's the first way we are going to sew this bag for our French seam. Wrong sides together, line everything up. Make sure your folded edge is lined up with a line on your cutting mat. And then make this side as straight as you possibly can. You can turn it this way and line everything up so that we're going to cut the bottom. Make sure that there's a nice edge there. And we're not really off on anything there. So we're looking pretty good down there, so I'm going to go ahead and leave that. So I didn't have to trim up anything there. I'm going to go ahead and do that on my sewing machine. I'll be right back and show you what it looks like. So here's this scant 1/4 inch all along the side and the bottom. Now if you want to, if you have some frayed edges like I do right there, you can come in with your rotary cutter and just trim those off, because those will show in our end result of our seam if we don't get those off now. And we want it to look perfect, right? If you see any on the edges here, go ahead and just get those off there, but be sure not to cut into your thread. Go ahead and turn this wrong side out. A lot of people had mentioned in the comments on the last tutorial that I did for the Magic Tote Bag was the fact that with their embroidery machine, it made it a lot easier to embroider something on the front of these bags because we did the French seam off to the side. So I just wanted to mention that to anybody that may be thinking about doing that or wondering if that would work. So for this next step, I'm going to roll that seam as far as I can with my fingers and pop it out. I am going to press it lightly right here because that's going to help me when I get to the sewing machine to enclose that seam within the French seam. As you see that seam right there in the middle, right there, we're going to close that up like that, and we're going to sew a 1/4 inch seam allowance down here and down here. And what that does is it closes up those raw edges so that we don't see them on the inside of the bag or the outside of the bag. So go ahead and start here and go down a 1/4 inch, and I'll meet you right back. This is what you should have so far. That seam is all sewn up. Now I want you to turn it right side out. Once you turn everything right side out, then you're going to roll these seams back in the opposite direction that you just rolled them. I know, counterintuitive, right? But it works. There's a reason behind each step that we do. It makes our work much neater and more presentable and less homemadey maybe. I don't know. Just seems right to me. So I'm going to press those out. Now what's very important when I go to show you how to box these corners out is the side that you didn't sew, I need you to put a hot press over there as well. Even up here. I mean, super cute already, right? I mean, this is just darling. I love it. And I love it with the black straps. Black was all I had, and I didn't know if it was going to turn out or not, but I really do like that black. Let's box these corners out. I don't want you to be intimidated by boxing corners out on a bag. It's so simple that once you see it and see how it's done, you'll have it for the rest of your life, that knowledge. We're going to open this bag up. We're going to turn it like this. Remember that crease seam? We're going to show that. I can even turn it this way so that these seams are kissing, and that will be the middle, so that crease seam and then the seam, the French seam that you just sewed. You can sort of get it like that. So you have this right here. So you've switched it to the side and you've got the side seam showing. And you've kind of flattened it out best you can so that these 2 points are meeting and everything is right side out right now. So if I flip that up, same thing. For this size of this bag, I'm going to go 1.5 inches. So from this tip right here, from the tip of the bag, you see it's like this, there's 2 once we've turned it on its side. So from the point of this bag right here, I want to go 1.5 inches, and that's that right there. Going through both layers, just like that. So you should have pinned at exactly the 1.5 inches right there. The next thing I want you to do is line the edge of your bag up with a line on your cutting mat. Make sure that everything is straight that side, straight this side, and your point is pointing right at a line. Then I want you to take your ruler, right where that pin is, right where we stuck it, right in there. I want you to line your ruler up right along that side. So if everything is straight all the way around, you're going to lay your ruler down right along where that pin is, and you're going to line your ruler with a line on your cutting mat. Lift up, pull that pin out. And that line should be perfectly straight to cut. And you should end up with this little funny piece right there, like a funnel. Flip it like this. You can go ahead and put your pin right in there, right away from this area right here. But we want those 2 to go together. Lift up, put this one down so that there's nothing underneath it. Now I could cut these both together at the same time, but I don't trust myself. So that's why I'm cutting them separately, and I suggest you do it too, only because you want them to be the same. And sometimes when we cut layers together, things can get totally out of whack. So that's why I do that. Line up, make sure that everything is nice and straight. Take your ruler, put it right over that pin where you put it in at that 1.5 inch mark. Once you know that everything's straight, you can pull that out and then use the line on your cutting mat to cut that straight. Pop a pin right here. So now you should have these 2 little things like that. The next step is we're going to take these over to our sewing machine, sew a scant 1/4 inch right there on that side, and then on this one as well. And then we're going to turn it inside out and do the French seam that way. So I'm gonna go do that, and then I'll show you what that looks like. All right, let's take our pins out. Both our sides are sewn up with that scant 1/4 inch. And then I want you to turn it inside out. And just like we did before with our French seam, we're going to kind of roll that seam to the very, very edge. Pop that pin in there, that'll help you. Now with this bottom seam, just make sure that that very bottom seam is going the same direction on both sides. So let's go ahead and pin that. Roll out the seams. Make sure that you're pinning that bottom seam in the same direction. Pin that. Make sure everything's straight. And then you're going to take this over to the sewing machine and enclose that seam into a French seam on both of these. And turn it right side out. And you can give it a press if you'd like. And in no time at all, you have the perfect little boxed out corner tote bag that not only has mainly 2 seams in it, but there's magic in this bag. Until next time on the Sewing Channel, take care.